got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds.
Well, with that being said, I got something to show you guys. Let's hope this, there we go. Check this out. So, there has actually been somebody tallying how many people are at these crowds. Donald Trump has, let's just say, been very liberal with his numbers. He has been saying he has in the hundreds of thousands, the tens of hundreds that can't get in. At one point, he said he had over 20,000 people and that many people that couldn't get in. So I decided I was kind of sick of not knowing the numbers. And also, I'm pretty good at gauging crowd sizes just because been to plenty of events that, you know, have about 6,000 or more people. Also have been to events that had over 20,000 people, so I have a very good idea of what those numbers look like. Well, it turns out that he's at this moment averaging about 56,000 or 5,600. Wow, Donald Trump would love me right now. Yeah, 5,600 people per rally. I think that it even says here that, yeah, that's actually being like, that's the over. Yeah, he had 5,200 in 2022, 4,600 in 2023. So, yeah, I mean, his average did go up. However, just an aside, Biden, 1,300, 2,400. It always looked like he was at like a village hall or like a abandoned bank. So, yeah, I could actually believe that. But now here we go. The crux of it. VP Harris is drawing 10,000 to 15,000, and they're calculating an average size of 13,400. Now, the notes of their methodology. I don't feel like reading that, so I'll link it in. I'll link it there if you want to know what their methodology was. But those numbers, just anecdotally, would make sense to me because of what I've seen, like with the Atlanta rally. The Atlanta rally. Wow, I can really talk today. Yeah, it was insane to see the difference between Kamala's numbers and Trump's numbers, and you could just see it with your own eyes. Kamala totally sold out that building, and not only, well, sold out, but you know what I mean. She packed that building, and then there were pictures of like the crowd outside, and like the line was insane. So then you go I think it was just a few days later, like it might have even been a day later. You look at Trump's, he couldn't even get the top, like the top wasn't even filled up. So like he was, moving people down. So there's just, there's a trick in wrestling where you turn the lights off and then you turn the camera only to one side of the crowd. Well, ironically, I think that Trump is doing something very similar to that, which brings us to what Kevin McCarthy was saying. Kevin McCarthy was like, today Trump comes out and accuses Kamala Harris of using AI to generate her crowd size. So let's go to our boy Pondering Politics, where we already were, and let him take it away.
The day after a rapidly spiraling Donald Trump dropped an unhinged conspiracy theory that Vice President Harris is using AI to manufacture images and video footage of the enormous crowds at her rallies, top Trump ally and former Republican Speaker Kevin McCarthy went on Fox News to publicly beg his candidate to stop. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go.
I gotta get catchphrase.
All right, friends, we did a video about the actual conspiracy theory yesterday, but as a reminder, Donald Trump, who routinely says stupid, dishonest, and unhinged things, kind of broke the mold by peddling repeatedly a conspiracy theory that the vice president is using artificial intelligence to just create whole cloth, manufactured images of the crowds at her rallies. Okay, even though...
The funny part is, he's somebody who has actually used AI generation for his pictures, and I mean, yes, because all those pictures of Donald Trump with a six-pack are completely real.
That has been debunked, even though, number one, he offered no evidence for it, and number two, it's been debunked by just
same with the Iran thing.
Reels and reels of footage from people who were at the rallies and photos from people at the rallies. None of that matters. This is just a reminder that one of the vice president's communications staff is making fun of Trump for it. Donald Trump is definitely not mad. Do not say that Donald Trump is mad. And he has a side-by-side, comparison to Donald Trump's, unhinged screed and an image of the vice president's rally at the Detroit airport. Now, that's the context for this. Well, it's so bad that Kevin McCarthy, the former Republican Speaker of the House and the top Republican fundraiser, I mean, if this guy's got one talent, it's raising funds.
You mean the guy that got embarrassed the hardest out of this entire debacle with the Republicans this year? Okay.
It's for Republicans.
I still don't understand why he's
he
doing
went on
this,
Fox News to
okay.
basically beg Donald Trump to shut the hell up with these unhinged conspiracy theories and desperately try to get him back on message.
And you've got to make this race not on personalities. Stop questioning the size of her crowds and start questioning her position when it comes to what did she do as Attorney General on crime. Question what did she do when she was supposed to take care of the border as a czar.
Okay, so the whole crime thing, I think that is going to backfire. I think that because who they're playing to are already kind of like tough on crime, The Republican base has always prided themselves for backing the blue and being tough on crime. They're always talking about crime. So talking about how she's tough on crime is only going to play to certain people on the left, but when you're on Fox News, that's not going to play to the left. Maybe the few, 20-somethings that are in the room when their parents are watching it. Otherwise, I don't know who you're grabbing there. The border czar thing is also, it's not working because it's so easily disprovable. Also, I have a feeling that they're going to start bringing numbers out where they're going to be like, yeah, we actually arrested 7 million people at the border, and Republicans are up in arms about the number at the border. That cannot be on anybody, Republican or Democrat, because, you go back to COVID, they wanted to come here and we shut the border down. Both of them did. So this idea that we have open borders and this, again, you got... The right, they are so into that replacement theory because they deep down really do believe it. A bunch of scared white people are just like, I don't want to be replaced. I want to continue to be the majority. So, they just stuff all that stuff, like all that racism and, all that hypocrisy, because also, if they were being treated the same way, they would not be too happy. So yeah, it just kind of always gets to me that they're like, yeah, these immigrants are coming up from, Venezuela or Nicaragua or, did I say that right? Yeah, I think I did. Mexico, but again, Joe Biden is supposed to solve the crime in Mexico. He's supposed to solve all of these problems, which I get it. Because the funniest part is, even if he did, you'd still be calling him the devil. At least be consistent. That's the one thing I try to do, is be consistent. But, you know what? You can only try. But, again, this guy can't even be consistent. Again, Mitch McConnell can't be consistent. Those Republicans, that's what, it's not just a Donald Trump thing, dude. The fact that Republicans are just so blatant about it, and there is no decorum there, you can't get mad when Democrats now call them on their BS, where we're just like, nah, I don't think we're going to just follow, whole cloth on this one. But let's continue.
Question that they brought inflation, and she was the tie-breaking vote.
Again, the inflation. I love how this magic inflation is only in America. It didn't happen worldwide. Also, nobody can actually tell me what, like, if there's an anti-corruption bill, fine, because that's where I'm seeing the inflation. It's corruption from the corporations recording profits, because last time I checked, if inflation was that bad, they would be suffering as well. They would not have profits. But again, I'm just a guy with a microphone.
It came to inflation, when it came to IRS agents, this is a perfect
IRS agents, again, the fact that you're sitting here like, the IRS is coming for... No, they're coming for the rich assholes that aren't paying their taxes. They're not coming for the people who are the middle class. They're not coming for the people that are of the lowest class. Trust me, man. Like, if you really think that if you make anything under $100,000 a year, that these guys are gonna, like, that you're on their radar, okay.
Yes.
Please, like, if you have that guilty of a conscience, I would love to know what you're doing.
You thought John Kerry was a flip-flopper? She is the biggest flip-flop with the most extreme positions, and you got a short time frame to do it. So don't sit back, get out there and start making the case, and use her own words to do it to her.
Bringing up John Kerry, again, man, like, the Fox News audience, they really are of a certain age.
You raise money.
So again, you can see that these Fox News hosts are nodding along affirmatively. They also want Donald Trump to stop, with these unhinged conspiracy theories. I will say it's kind of funny. Kevin McCarthy is a great fundraiser, not a particularly skilled politician, since of course it took him 15 attempts to become Speaker of the House,
weird.
and then he was historically unpopular. He made history, as a matter of fact, by
Is
being
it
the
just
first Republican,
like
the
who he
first
knows?
Speaker of the House, period, to be
Like who
removed
he's
from that
golfing
position
with?
by members of his own party. And then a few months later, he resigned in disgrace at the end of November because he was so furious. And he has spent much of his post-congressional career trying to initiate primary challenges against those who removed him from his position in the first place, all of which is great. I love the Republican infighting. More of it, please. Yeah. But I'm sure Donald Trump, who is a malignant narcissist and a moron, is going to find it very hard to take political advice from Kevin McCarthy, given how much of a failure McCarthy is. Although, to be fair, too, Donald Trump, quite frankly, is a political failure. He won the 2016 election by way of the Electoral College, which, as you know, is affirmative action for Republicans because they can't compete in terms of popularity and winning hearts and minds. So they have to appeal to this relic, which is found nowhere in any other advanced democratic republic on earth.
The Al Gore thing, what was it, 300-something votes in Florida?
To basically give them an outsized advantage by way of red rural states. He's lost in 2018,
it's always
but
been
he lost the
it's always
2020
been
presidential election.
them.
He presided over the Republican defeat in 2021 in the Senate, the 2022 midterm shellacking, the 2023 off-year elections. And right now, as of at least this moment, Donald Trump is losing the 2024 election. So you're talking about two losers trying to, navigate this together. But Donald Trump, I think, is too much of a narcissist to listen to.
I think he brought up the midterms, but we really cannot understate how bad that went for them. Like that went really bad for the Republicans. Again, Kansas, the referendum in Kansas, and then in Ohio too. I mean, just those statistics need to get played into this current election because those states were never expected to vote that way, but they did. And I think abortion is a much bigger issue than the Republicans are, trying to make it out to be.
To Kevin McCarthy's sound advice. Want to play another clip? Last thing I'll say on McCarthy, though.
Uh-oh. Who's this guy?
It's hilarious how he's trying to, peg Vice President Harris as a flip-flopper, given that Donald Trump will say one thing on Monday and say something completely different on Tuesday, and then the third thing on Friday, and contradict himself every which way. Republicans don't care about his, unparalleled inconsistencies on answers and issues, but they're going to try to hold the vice president to a different standard. So again, that's something that we on the left should constantly flip on them, constantly point out the double standard, and say we're not interested really in whatever inconsistency you seem to think exists with the vice president.
The problem is they hold themselves to a different standard. Like, that's where it comes from. It comes from within the party, which isn't a bad thing. Self-policing is not a bad thing. It just gets a little annoying where it's like the holier than thou crowd and the you're not left enough for me, or you're not a communist or whatever. And I'm not making light of that. I mean, again, comrades, there's a place for you here. I just may not have you may not have a place for me as centrist as I am, I guess. I mean, I've been called centrist lately, so I don't know. It's so weird. Like, when you actually talk to me and, like, my policies, I'm pretty far left. But, again, lately there has been
your candidate,
a
Donald
litmus
Trump, is a
test
pathological
that
liar
I just
who
fail.
is the most inconsistent political candidate in history. Once you address that, then we'll talk about the vice president. Somebody else who's not particularly happy with the current state of the 2024 election is Peter Navarro, a former Trump advisor, still a
he
Trump,
was a Trump
supporter.
He's a lawyer.
He is covering for Steve Bannon, a top Trump advisor who's currently serving a jail sentence for defying a subpoena. We'll get into more of Peter Navarro's history as a refresher, but this is what he had to say as he guest hosts Steve Bannon's War Room podcast about the current state of the election.
Rally 1.0 has always been a fast-moving feast.
Little side note for those that do not follow the news all the time. Steve Bannon, if you don't know who he is, he's a fat slob of a man who is just he's just a disgusting cretin of a barely human being, who worked with and for Donald Trump, and then he worked with whatever this is, right-wing groups, and he has his own radio show. But he got held in contempt of Congress because he didn't want to testify. Well, they arrested him, and that is currently where he is at. He is in jail, so this is why he is a guest host.
For rally goers and TV networks alike. But Trump doesn't need feasts now. He needs votes. And the current rally formula is simply not sufficiently focused on the very stark policy differences.
You mean the thing that he was going on? I haven't heard anything about policy. She doesn't even have policy. She's so dumb. She's just so dumb. Yeah, it's also going to really fly, dude. Keep going.
Between him and Kamala Harris that will swing voters in key battleground states. Instead, when Trump attacks Harris personally rather than on policy, Harris's support among swing voters rises, particularly among women. It's just a fact of life right now.
Again, that's
Look how mad he gets about that. He's just like, especially with women. I don't know why. It's almost like they think they're people or something. I mean, geez.
Peter Navarro of all people. As a reminder, Peter Navarro, former advisor to Donald Trump, was filling in for Steve Bannon's War Room podcast.
Hey, I already beat you to that.
Navarro was one of the many Trump supporters sentenced to prison for his own shenanigans, his own corrupt activities on behalf of Donald Trump.
Okay, that was the one thing
I'm
glad you cleared that up
convicted for
because
his
I
corruption,
kind of remember him getting
and yet
arrested.
is savvy enough to recognize the current state of the 2024 election and to beg Donald Trump to get back on message. Now, another Republican who weighed in on this is George Conway. George Conway was married to Kellyanne Conway, another top Trump supporter, Trump advisor, and his best spin doctor. I mean, she's enormously talented at pivots and redirects. She's one of the best communicators in the Republican field and incredibly agile. And her ex-husband, George Conway.
Actually, you know what? There's a lot of those because, like, my mom's one of those where she claims to be a Republican just because she's voted with Republicans her entire life, but then, you know, when she's actually honest with me, she lets me know that, oh, no, she didn't. You know, she voted for Obama. She, you know, voted for Hillary. And it's like, well, okay, then I'm pretty sure that by merit makes you a Democrat now, because if you're not MAGA, but I don't know. She claims that, I mean, she owns the Rhino title, so let's just let her have it.
For Trump Republican, and he has made it his life's mission, and I respect him for this, is basically to ruin Donald Trump's life politically and to troll him and to mock him and to belittle him.
It is funny.
Love it. So he said in response...
It is funny. If you see anything with the Lincoln Project behind it, that's that guy.
...to this. This is actually in response to a doctor, a medical doctor who responded to Trump. So, you know, again, Trump, you know, going on his whole screed about how Kamala Harris cheated at the airport. She used ID. They don't exist. Nobody was there. Nobody was there. She used AI. The doctor responded to this. If a sitting president released this message, there would and should be calls for the 25th Amendment, which, of course, is how the vice president and the cabinet would remove an incapacitated president from power temporarily or permanently.
Just an aside, man. Like, you saw that. He is losing it.
George
Trump
Conway
is
responded to
losing
this and
his
said,
shit.
absolutely no question, doctor. If a sitting president were as detached from reality as Trump's post shows him to now be,
funny.
he would undisputably be, quote,
It's
unable
really
to discharge
funny.
the powers and duties of his office, and, quote, within the meaning of Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, and thus, you know, people would call on him to be removed. Speaking of George Conway,
I mean, we
George
talked.
Conway is also
Let's
the
be
master-
fair. Like, we brought up the 25th Amendment a lot at the end of Trump's presidency, especially after the maybe we can inject the bleach. Maybe there's something that we can, you know, maybe put it in their blood system, and then it can, clean the blood. I still can't. I don't know which one's better. That one or George Bush saying, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Well, I won't get fooled again. Well, you won't fool me again." I used to actually do a killer George Bush, but man, never thought I'd miss the days of that guy.
Mind behind the, I'm going to bring it up here. It cracks me up. The anti-psychopath PAC. And again, the whole thing is being orchestrated by Conway, I think, brilliantly to just troll Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans and put it out there about how stupid and unhinged and mentally unfit he is to be president. And so on the subject of Trump's struggles with the vice president's popularity and crowd size, George Conway's PAC put this ad together.
Donald Trump is rattled.
The Trump crowd is smaller than the Harris Walz crowd was.
He's mad.
Trump was complaining that an estimated 10,000 people were at Harris's event.
He's upset.
The school administration stopped us from getting another
This is great.
500, 600, even 1,000 people in.
Oh, Donald, do you ever stop
500,
lying?
600,
Come
even
on,
1,000.
you was here a week ago, lots of empty seats.
Not enough people want to go to his rallies anymore.
Yeah, see? Right there. Yeah.
They want to go to Kamala Harris's
Yeah,
rallies.
look at that. Rapids. Yeah, that was
Enjoy
Atlanta.
the rallies while they last, Donald, because where you're going, you're not going to be able to have any. Learn more at psychopac.org.
Love it. Great stuff. So yeah, folks, again, this is genuinely good news for Democrats. More good news, right?
moves.
The vice president is dominating in the polls. She's dominating in fundraising. She's dominating in energy. And again, the election's not today, right? If the election were today, she'd win. But the election is on November 5th. So
Yeah, well, I just remember, we were saying a lot of, if the election were held today, then Trump would win, so let's be careful. I'm always very cautiously optimistic with polls.
we have an obligation to keep all of that, the polls, the fundraising, the energy, alive. We have to keep that momentum. It will not sustain itself. It's an active choice every day between you and I to make that happen, and people like us. But I will say this is additional good news, too, that Donald Trump is making choices and just making the wrong choice.
All right, guys, well, you know what to do. Number one, nice pause face. Yeah, I have a link below if you like his channel, at Pondering Politics. He's great. I'm pretty sure that there is a dog that just walked by, or there's somebody walking a dog. That's what I meant. Yeah. I know the difference. That one is just he saw somebody in the window. The other, if you heard him going absolutely crazy, yeah, somebody's at the door. You gotta love that stuff. But yeah, so this was kind of funny. I am enjoying just watching Trump just seethe over his crowd number. It's so petty. It's, again, if my choice of a politician, I'm not even saying my politician, I'm my team, but if my politician, if I'll just say it, if Kamala was just no, he had a nice crowd, but we had more, even just that, I'd be like, ugh. It's just the way he does it. We all laugh at it, and then all of his, his supporters are just, oh, Donald. Oh, we love him. He's so funny. He's so adorable. It's yeah, again. Even where I can admit that he makes me laugh, again, just I can't stipulate this more. Just because somebody makes you laugh does not mean that they should be president. I mean, I think I'd be a good example of that. Anyway, if you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment. Also, go check out Pondering Politics. Yeah.